we're commanded to take our thoughts captive.
Yeah, I was hoping you were going to go there next.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So it's actually a directive.
Hmm.
Take them captive. And what's the rest of that verse?
To the obedience of God.
Yeah. And so it's interesting
Yeah.
that it's talking about obedience, right? And it's a directive from God. And I think when we are dwelling in that shame statement, that dark place, you know, not to be legalistic, because I'm not at all, but
Right.
it does feel like I'm I'm siding with the enemy.
Hmm.
I'm partnering with him when I agree with him. And that's not something I'm willing to do. I mean, there were seasons in my life when I walked with the enemy hand in hand, and I'm not willing to do that today.
Yeah.
So that is motivation for me.
Hmm.
Um, yeah,
Yeah.
thoughts?
Yeah. Just this to me, I'd say it's that's probably just reiterating it, but like the importance of seeing how that scripture and it's Second Corinthians, I had it in my notes, 2 Corinthians 10:5. And it's take every thought captive to the obedience of the Lord. And I love how you put, when I side with the enemy and take on a new identity in my toxic shame, that is sinful. Like that is disobedience. And to
It's partnering with the
yeah,
enemy. When I feel like
yeah,
that, I'm like, that is, I do not want to be his partner. I don't want anything to do with that.
yeah. So with obeying, like it requires practice.
Mhm,
You got to practice obeying things that are deeply rooted, like a propensity for shame.
mhm. Yeah,
And so you got to, yeah, practice the obedience is
yeah.
the thing that comes.
Right. And we practice it in the off time so that in the really, sorry, my chair.
That's the chair.
It's the chair. Um we practice in the off times, in the not high
Sure. Yeah.
stakes times, so that when those high stakes times come, it'll be our go-to. And I remember that so well and vividly because my when I got sober at 27, I remember my AA sponsor saying, "So you call me every day." And I was like, "Oh, I don't want to bother you. I'll just call you if I need you." And she's like, "Bother? No, you don't understand. You call me every day so that you're in the habit of calling me, so that when you do need something, it's so natural to call. It is your practice to
Right.
do."
Yeah.
And in all of the tools that Redemptive Living gives, and all of the even the practices that we do in our spiritual walk, we practice them, right? Whether you feel it or don't, um, the obedience to practice them goes a long way in your walk, goes a long way in your knee-jerk reactions in the future.
Yeah.
But now's the time. You don't have to wait until a huge shame spiral comes. You can practice being present with any self-thought
Yeah.
and turning it.
Hmm. We can even take this several weeks, maybe even a couple months ago now. I was really inspired by John Mark Comer's unintentional spiritual formation versus intentional, and I kind of shared how that can look in recovery. And if I think of what you're talking about, I translate that to the habits.
Mhm.
I'm in the habit of accepting an identity. I'm in the habit of allowing that disobedience of um, not taking that thought captive. I'm in the habit of shame, toxic shame, and I can replace that with a practice
Mhm.
of what you're talking about, like in the outside of the moment, so that inside the moment, my practice is what shines through. My practice is what changes me. It's my intentional step at formation.
Mhm.
And so
Yeah.
that just came to mind.
And I think what you find with any practice that we're starting is that in the beginning, a couple will slip through, right?
Sure.
A couple thoughts like that will slip through and I haven't taken them captive, but on the whole, I'm practicing taking them captive and I'll maybe catch it after the fact on those.
Yeah.
And even catching it after the fact, there's still a practice there to then engage it.
Mhm.
Even if the moment's gone and I've dwelt in it for some time, but to then engage it, to take hold of the truth. And I think as we go, you find more and more that as the thought's happening, you're starting to recognize it for what it is, take it captive. And then sometimes, even before the thoughts, here's the progression. Even before the thought starts to creep in, I'm like, nope, I'm not going there. This is a time when I would go there.
Yeah.
And I'm not going there today.
Mhm.
That's not the truth. And you can preemptively, but it does take time, doesn't it? And I
It
would
does.
say that walk is not days. For me, that was months.
Yeah. Even years.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would agree. I mean, yeah, I can look back and remember like not looking the man in the mirror in the eyes. Whenever I went to the bathroom, I can remember taking pictures and trying to like scoot out of them. And that was a pretty extended. I mean, that I remember that happening over at least a year and more. I know it was more, but
Yeah.
what I'm thinking about right now is at least a year. So,
Yeah.
yeah. And I'm not. It's not. I'm not above like you said. Shame can come in today, and that's where my work has to like kick in. My practices,
Mhm.
because I'm not above hearing something and going to a place of shame.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think the enemy's very creative. So I think he just kind of pushes those same buttons over the years. Every once in a while, something different will slide in there. But, and even then, I think a lot of times the roots are the same.
Mhm.
I'm just looking at my notes here. Okay, so I want to talk about there are several times in the Bible where we're directed to love others as ourselves, as we love ourselves. And I think it was eye-opening of me to, for me to think about it, what if I loved others how I loved myself?
Whew.
I mean, I would be a complete jerk if I loved others in those days of feeling a lot of those shame and negative self-talk, if I loved others in the way I so-called loved myself, which was zero love,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And so I just think it's interesting that there is a prerequisite to that, and that just didn't show up once in the Bible. There's
Right.
quite a few places where it's accounted, but the prerequisite is that we love ourselves.
Hmm.
And love is active.
It is.
It's not passive. It's not just not doing bad.
Yeah.
It's actually doing good. So, in this sense of what we're talking about today, it's not just get that negative thought out of our head and make it neutral. No, it's actually doing good. It's encouraging. It's speaking truth that edifies.
Yes. Like I'm so tempted to just like say more things, but I don't want to muddy what you just said because it doesn't need to say there's nothing else to say that. That's really well said. Like love is active and it's intentional and it's one way.
Hmm. Okay, so let's talk about this from like a wife's perspective
Yeah.
in this process.
Hmm.
And and even just not blaming ourselves.
Yeah.
Um Speaking those truths that sound things like you actually nothing you did or didn't do caused him to make these choices.
Yes.
Saying that to ourselves over and over again, as many times as we need to, as many days in a row as it takes, but also having community that we can be really vulnerable with to say, I'm struggling with some of these thoughts, and this is what I need.
Yeah.
I need somebody to speak truth to me. I need reassurance. that my value doesn't lie in what somebody else chooses to do or not to.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm thinking too about like, I'm over here still thinking about the guy side of things, but this applies too for women, and I think that's what the essence of what you're talking about. So guys can be, we can choose to hold ourselves accountable to how we process shame. And if you have good accountability people, then you could start that conversation like, you guys, y'all, I'm struggling with shame, and I want to be I want to take those thoughts captive. And so in my weekly accountability check-ins or in the moment when I'm struggling with that, I want to be able to reach out and this is my plan. And so it's important, I think, to acknowledge the person that wants accountability needs to come with what they'll be accountable to and what the plan is. The person holding them accountable simply reminds them of what their plan is.
Yeah, I mean, I think the best accountability is owned
Yeah,
by the person that needs the accountability.
yeah,
Yeah. I say owned, but what I mean by that is instead of just saying, hey, accountability partner, could you check in on me every week and ask me this,
yeah,
this, and this? Instead of that, if I'm owning it, if I'm taking active responsibility for it, I'm saying, hey, accountability partner, I'm going to be checking in with you once a week on this day, checking in on these things or anything else that feels like it's pressing me. And if I don't, I want you to call me out on it. And in some cases, you may want them to let your wife know
yeah,
that you're not in good accountability, that you're not being active in your accountability.